Hi, Phil Hundelback. We're working through this series on the condemnation process steps. We're at step 3. Hopefully this will be helpful for you, the landowner, and better understanding what's going on in each step and what you can do to assist your attorney in this condemnation proceeding. So with that, step 3, the final offer letter or final offer packet. And I call it the final offer packet because it ends up being a big packet. It's a big packet that can be overwhelming for a landowner. But let's talk about what it has and what you should be paying attention to. So the final offer packet is the one that includes the appraisal, and it's a third-party appraisal. And I think of it as the final offer letter is the initial offer letter plus the appraisal. So basically all the things that are in the initial offer letter, you'll get that landowner bill of rights, and then also the appraisal. So condemnors, or I will say the right-of-way agents representing the condemnors, are always like to point out in their cover letter or in the phone call to you if you're still not represented by an attorney, how this is, a third-party appraisal, as if it's from a neutral appraiser. And just, remember, make no mistake, this third-party appraiser was hired by the condemnor. It's not an appraiser that's appointed by the court or something like that. It's hired by the condemnor. And I'll leave it at that. So what should you be doing on this final offer packet stage? So number one, review it and make sure what the appraiser is valuing is the same as what the condemnor is seeking to take. What do I mean by that? Let's just say on a pipeline easement, you understand that the pipeline is wanting to take a 50-foot wide permanent easement, and the appraiser is his appraisal is valuing a 30-foot wide permanent pipeline taking. So two different things. So make sure that the appraisal matches what you understand the condemnor is taking. And I will say most of the time it does, but I have seen appraisals. It's almost like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. The appraisal is different than what the condemnor is taking. And it may be just different as opposed to the permanent easement area may be the same, but maybe the appraiser didn't value an access road easement, permanent or temporary access road easement, or maybe the appraiser didn't value or had a different calculations on the temporary workspace or additional temporary workspace. So those are all things that you just need to look at and pay attention to. Look at what the appraiser's decision is on highest and best use. What's the highest and best use of your property in his mind? And your attorney can explain a lot more about that, but these are just points I want to bring out. So look at the appraiser's comparable sales. Are these, you as the landowner, are these comparable sales that you're familiar with? Maybe they're just down the street and you are absolutely aware of it, and those numbers are correct, or possibly it's the value, the comparable sale is this one you're familiar with, but the sales price you understand it to be different than what the appraiser is saying. He may be right, you may be wrong, or vice versa. He may be wrong and you're right on the valuation. So just look at those comparable sales, and then also, are there other comparable sales in the area that you know about? And if so, share those with your attorney, let them know. And then also in the appraisal, we talk about damage to the remainder. I mentioned that in one of the earlier video series. But is there a damage to the remainder? Does the appraiser for the pipeline company think that the rest of your property's value has diminished because of the pipeline, the proposed pipeline that's going to be on your property? Or even in a TxDOT case, look, a lot of times people will think, well, it's just a fee simple taking, whatever, 30 feet, 60 feet off of my property. And TxDOT views it as, well, what's the value of the taking only? And I've had some cases where TxDOT recognizes, and their appraiser recognizes, that because of the taking, the remainder is going to be significantly or severely affected for development purposes or whatever. And so therefore there is a damage to the remainder of the property. So you really just take a look and see if there's a damage to the remainder component in that appraisal. So that's the final offer packet. What's the timing of the final offer packet? It's a, you know, it there's different, and in my timeline I have different, how many days. They cannot send you an initial offer and then the next day send you a final offer letter. They've got to wait 30 days after that initial offer was sent to you. So there's some timelines that the condemnor has to meet. So also pay attention to that and make sure that they haven't gotten too aggressive and shorten those timelines. So take a look at that. But the final offer 30 days after the initial offer. Moving on to step number 4.